Welcome to Staffing Stories, hosted by Andy Moss. Andy has been in the staffing industry for over 25 years, first as a recruiter, then eventually an account manager and business owner. This is the podcast where we sit down with fellow staffing owners to get the real stories of the successes, the failures, and the lessons learned along the way.
Welcome back to Staffing Stories. I'm your host, Andy Moss, and I am happy to be broadcasting this one. But as you see, I've got my glasses on, so getting old really stinks. So I want to make sure everybody knows that. But I am bringing on a good friend of mine from the great state of Florida, Mr. Bill Peppler, the COO of Kavaliro.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, welcome to the what I call the not so hot seat. But it's a pleasure to have you on. And we're going to talk through Bill's, Genesis story, but also we're going to dive into some topics about, diversification in your work, and, going after new business lines that you have to adapt to. So stick with us here. We're going to kind of, jump into it. But Bill, introduce yourself.
Yes, nice to see you again. And unfortunately, I had to make the move to glasses myself about 2 years ago. So that's part of maybe being in this industry for as long as you and I have. But yes, I'm Bill Peppler. I'm Chief Operating Officer for Kavaliro. I am Florida-based here in Orlando, Florida. We have offices across the country. This is our 13th year of business as Kavaliro. I spent a good portion of my career with Technosource and then a good amount of time at Robert Half International before my partners and I started Kavaliro. And it's been a great run, great evolution. As we've added different service lines throughout the years. And certainly you and I could share some war stories and probably talk for hours about this industry. But I appreciate you inviting me and being on.
Well, let's just dive into it a little bit. Your business line is very interesting, but you had to take some paths that, came through some, challenging with some customers. So kind of walk me through, we were talking in the green room about this, but I kind of want to just jump right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. As I talk about the evolution of where we are today as Kavaliro, I think about the journey and, in that 13 years, there's been an ebb and flow and highs and lows. And you think about what we're currently going through with our economy, what we've gone through with COVID, the financial crisis, even going back before that in my career, before Kavaliro, you think about what we went through with the mortgage crisis, with Y2K, the dot-com boom and bust. I always think that companies in our space find a way to procure revenue. And some years it might be permanent-based revenue or direct hire revenue. Sometimes it might be statement of work, contract to hire. But I was just talking to you and kind of reliving a story that happened to us a few years back. And the genesis of where we are today, where Kavaliro really has 5 distinct lines of business, 5 buckets of revenue where we grow. And by the way, 2022 was our best year ever from top line standpoint. So, we've seen some growth, and but the genesis really came from when we were told a couple years ago, we were a part of a very successful vendor management program where we had consistently top performed. Our scorecards were always in the top 5% from an audit standpoint, big brand name that everybody would know. And they were going to an updated RFP. And, I'll never forget this. We were very honest with our feedback on pricing, especially in the market. I think it's important to understand and be a really good partner, customer, and be honest from your pricing standpoint. And they were looking for a rate card. And, you can do those things many different ways. You can price them accordingly, fair with what the market is bearing, and using all the tools that we all have access to through the Department of Labor and through the other amazing technology partners that many of our firms have access to. Or you could be the lowest bidder and really try to bid all your customers. Well, we went with the honest approach, and that approach backfired on us. And I'll never forget it. We got the message, it was like 3 or 4 days before holiday break, Christmas break. And, in this industry, that's usually between Christmas and New Year's is a time to kind of regroup and plan and get set for the next year. And I'll never forget when that message was delivered. It made me and my partners feel like we were really just viewed as a commodity, not necessarily a true partner with our client. We felt like we had done everything that was asked of us. We've been a great vendor on this program for many years. We took care of our people. There was people that had stayed with us on project for many years. We made them feel like they were part of our firm. And that message was really, really hard to take. And you could do with that many different ways. You can, tell the customer you're wrong and be upset about it, or you could find ways to look inward and say, okay, where can we improve? What can we do better? And that's one thing I think through my career is that I admittedly do not have all the answers. Every day I come into an office, I learn things from other people on our company, clients. I learn so much from newer people, generations that are new to this, Andy, like you and I have been on for a while. When people come into it, they may have a different take. So looking inward as a company, we realized that we need to diversify exactly who we were to our customer base. We wanted to make sure that there was, make it was really hard to break up with us, per se. So we made a distinct decision to really offer different services. So workforce solutions, what you and I call staffing, absolutely still a huge part of what we do. We really went after government services lines of business. We actually hold a top secret clearance as a company ourselves. So we thought that was a competitive advantage that we could go after the cleared and top secret space. And very, very proud of the work that we do there. We also launched a managed services business that corresponds with our project services division. So those are more moves, add changes, technology, help desk, outsourcing, areas that for years we were getting calls and saying, hey, can we get an extension of the people part of the business, but we want a service. And for years we had been referring that business to great partners, but started to think about it as like, what would be the difference if we hired those people ourselves and offered an extension of the people part of the business? And so we did that. And then our most recent practice that we launched, it's going on 20 months now, was our Salesforce practice, which is in the revenue cloud CPQ space. And that is from an integration standpoint. We are a certified SI partner within Salesforce. New ecosystem for us. We actually even made a micro acquisition here a few months ago in that space. But all these lines of business were distinct ways for us to diversify who we were. And I'm not going to try to say that, there's always difficult times from an economy standpoint, but we wanted to make sure that it was just not a commodity, just not a number. Hey, we're having tough times. You're the vendor that we're cutting. Those are really tough decisions. We've all been a part of it, but that particular one was the genesis for us to say, okay, let's look inward and find ways to diversify our business.
I loved it when you said our industry has to adapt. We are an industry of change. I mean, I've been through 3 recessions, and it's always going to happen. I mean, you can just count on it. So if you're young into this business, you're going to go through recessions, but also you have to be willing to take on something that you're probably not trained at doing. I'm assuming that maybe you weren't trained at MSA or business, but you either had to bring on resources that were smarter than you to do it, or kind of explain that. Did you go outside of maybe the family tree and kind of bring in some expertise?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yes, when you and I probably got started, we were on Rolodexes and hard copy resumes, we're faxing them to our customers. And I remember those days, and we're not too far away from it. Just think of how much has evolved in the last 20 plus years. But yes, so we realized that, again, you're working with people that are in our ecosystem, but just maybe a little bit different from the workforce solutions standpoint. But you're talking to people in technology, and that's 80% of what we do is IT and engineering. So you know who the people are. But yes, we needed to hire those people, convince them that our culture that we built at Kavaliro was one that we could add on different parts of our business, bring on subject matter experts to our company, and tell them that, hey, you're empowered. You're a partner to us. We're looking for your advice and expertise. We know our business really well. And again, that's always evolving. And we talk about, a lot of companies talk about their culture and having an open door policy. It's one that we truly believe in. people come to us with ideas all the time. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is a few years ago, we created and exited a software company in the HR tech space that came within the walls of Kavaliro. It's kind of built with an entrepreneurship mindset from Kavaliro. It came from one of our recruiters at the time. Came to me on a Monday morning with an idea, and we exited that opportunity 39 months after inception. That's a product that's still used by Bullhorn daily today. So that is something that speaks about the culture and having, at the time, I had 18 years plus in this industry, and the person who came up with the idea had 6 months. And I could have said, no way, that's not going to work. Instead, it's like, okay, I could see the value immediately when he talked to me about it. And the rest was just that culture that allowed for that. But yeah, we had to hire a lot of times people through our ecosystem, subject matter experts that felt empowered to come in and make a difference for Kavaliro. But yeah, you couldn't do it all yourself. And any leader who tries to do that, they're usually the ones that are struggling when you don't ask for help.
Yeah, you got to check the ego at the door. And I've always ego will make you broke. And
no doubt. I like that.
It's something that, I learned the hard way. And I think most people in our industry are A-type personalities. We're going to go get it. And as the athlete in me, you got to be able to say, hey, I am not a good wide receiver, but I'm a great quarterback. So bring in the talent. But one thing, when I got a chance to meet you, we met kind of in a group that as leaders, we have to almost, share knowledge within other individuals in our industry. And you've always been like, hey, I don't look at you as a competitor. I look at you as somebody that, hey, you may know something different than me. And
that's right.
Think if I'm encouraging listeners to say, hey, step outside your walls and go to these SIA events, ASA events, but when you meet somebody, break bread with them, or, meet outside like monthly or quarterly and swap ideas.
Oh yeah. And I'm a big believer, and we're heading down to exec forum next week, which is something that my leadership team, we try to attend every single year. Got the home court advantage being in Florida this year, but had a great meeting last year in Austin. And certainly we missed the event last time in Miami when COVID got in the way. But I'm a big believer in this world where, we come from many of the companies that are pillars in our industry, right? I speak about my time very highly at Robert Half. I know companies and where your background came from. These are companies that are so well respected and have done it for so long. You'd be foolish not to pick the brains of people that have done it and learned, and even the ones who have left and created these other mega companies. And I'm a big believer in having friends in this industry. For whatever reason, you can pick the brains of, hey, how do you guys do this? Is there a particular commission plan that motivates your team? And there's some forums within TechServe, which is great. They'll put you on individual things. There's staffing roundtable groups that my company's a part of, from C-level even to division director level from our recruiters. We get so much value in that group, and all the things that are shared in the staffing roundtables are really kind of held confidentially. So you're not taking what you get from XYZ company and putting it in a proposal for your company. It's just a sounding board, almost like a loose board of advisors that you can say, hey, are we going down the right path on this? But yeah, I'm a big believer in relationships, and if we can all pick up something from each other, again, going back to my point, I don't have all the answers. My God, as soon as you think you do, by the way, this industry humbles you tremendously. Really, and that ego, check your ego at the door, is so true, because there's companies being built every single day that's coming to eat your lunch unless you don't do that.
Well, the big thing, with so much tech out there these days, I know with my 3D-IQ product, referrals, and people will say, I've used this, they love it, they talk about it. As an owner of a business, you want to verify some of these things, because there's so many that you can bring on and be able to, okay, have you used this? Did you like it? I mean, what was your experience with implementation? And you having a software, SaaS operations, I think that's big when you can have a sounding board that says, hey, I've tried it, don't use this, or it didn't work for us, and this is why.
Oh yeah. That's, by the way, our software company that we created, the first customer we had was actually fraternity brothers of mine that own another staffing company that doesn't compete with us. In fact, there's probably 5 or 6 companies that are in our space that are all developed by fraternity brothers of ours from UCF, which is crazy. If you added all the amounts of revenue of these companies, you wouldn't believe it. And yeah, there was nothing in the water at UCF that said you had to go into staffing. I think we all just took an opportunity very young and made the best out of it. But I'll never forget when that product that I spoke about, it was one that, okay, we thought it was really valuable, like in our company walls, but I wanted feedback from another customer. And I said, I'll never forget, I said, I want you to tell me if this is something worthwhile. If it stinks, I want you to break it. I want you to give me real-time feedback, because I think, and that was a very tough decision. Do we just keep this product for ourselves? I know you've had to go through this yourself. Or is there something that we could share with the workforce solutions ecosystem in the marketplace? And so that feedback was really influential us in saying, okay, there's something more here that we could share to the marketplace. But that doesn't happen unless you have friends in the industry. In this case, they were fraternity brothers, but that you can pick up the phone and saying, tell me if this stinks, if I'm going down the wrong path, I want to hear it. So yeah, to your point, it's really important to have friends. And I think we both come from companies that have now spun off so many other companies that are doing great things in our marketplace. And you could, all the stories that we could all share about where they came from, very similar to the backgrounds that you and I came from. So yeah, embrace those friends. I don't think when you hold things too close to the vest and you consider the competition as just that, competition and enemies, you're losing. You're losing. But if you embrace diversity and knowing that this industry is way bigger than any one company, any 100 companies could compete in. So let's find different ways of helping each other. And at the end of the day, you both become stronger companies from that help.
I love it. All right. I'm going to get you a little vulnerable here. What was the worst mistake you ever made?
Wow. Worst mistake we've ever made. We've made some mistakes. There's definitely a few, people or projects or maybe entities that you thought you could go down a path and thought the barrier to entry would not be too great. Let's see. Some of the things that jump out at me is, decisions that we made that, going down the path of new service lines, and they're not all hits, by the way.
Yeah.
The story that I shared earlier was an amazing success story for us, and one that talks about our culture. But there's been other things that we thought, hey, could this work? And quickly realizing they don't. I think the key is, or hires that
or people.
I'm thinking,
you think this person could be that leader, and it's like, you find out really quickly, I put them in a wrong spot or her.
Yep. And I think that the way that we learn from those is making decisions quickly, right? So the old adage of making, whether hiring or new entities, really going slow in the process, but when things need to go the opposite way, making those decisions relatively fast. And I think through the years of people or parts of our company that are no longer here, I'm hoping, and I think I know this, but I hope that all those people know that we thought of their best interest in hand, and for whatever reason, it did not work here, but it doesn't mean that there wasn't value added from there. But the decision to move on was in benefit, hopefully, of them and as us as a company standpoint. But yeah, those are not fun things to revisit. That's for sure.
No, but I mean, this is a business that, we've had unbelievable people that are just great people. Just this business didn't click with. And it's just
absolutely.
I'm holding you back from making your nut somewhere. But
no doubt.
But last question as we wrap up. So if you're streaming right now, Netflix, Amazon, what's your streamer of choice, and what's the show you're watching right now?
Oh man, that is a good question. So I'm a big sports guy. So if there's not a live sporting event, I have a hard time catching up on these investments of shows that are multiple seasons in advance. Even if I understand that, hey, Game of Thrones is an amazing show. What season is it on? Oh, they're on season 5. I'm out. I can't.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm ever going to
Yeah.
be able to watch the 4 seasons before that. So I'm the more of a documentary type show kind of person. So my wife and I are both infatuated with the Murdaugh trial and everything that's happening in South Carolina. So we consume all the shows, the HBO version, the Netflix version. She even had me watching and listening to the trial the other day. So we're more into those real crime docuseries than actual shows. But I do love the Bryan Cranston show that's on Showtime right now in New Orleans. That's a great show. So
Okay.
Breaking Bad before that, and the spinoff from that as well with Saul. I love those shows. But yeah, mostly live sporting events guy.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with me today and our listeners, and I always appreciate it. And I'm here for you at any time.
Anytime, Andy. Good to connect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The Staffing Stories podcast is brought to you by 3DIQ. Founded by recruiters for recruiters, 3DIQ's industry-leading product suite complements your submission process in Bullhorn from start to finish and helps you deliver a cutting-edge customer experience. Triple your placements with our powerful resume submission platform, candidate marketing, and client portal. Visit 3diq.com/stories to learn more.